Hey everybody, Mr. Wagner here. We are going to begin with pong6 today. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to take pong5 and make it pong6 with a file save as pong6. All right. Now, what my plan is for pong6 is basically just a little bit of cleanup work, okay? Sometimes as you code, you're building and you're moving stuff around, and then what happens is things start to get ugly, and it's important to go back and look at your code and clean up things. There's actually a term for that. It's called refactoring. So we're going to do a little bit of refactoring. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to teach you a new command, okay? And this command is kind of interesting. Remember how, like on line 39, I have new value equals old value plus 1? Okay. There is a different way that Python allows you to do this, and you can basically say something like this. You can say variable, whatever the variable is, and instead of equals plus 1, you can just say plus equals 1. And line 39 and line 40 essentially do the same thing. So let me show you in the case of line 41. So instead of saying ball x equals ball x plus dx, Command C, let me copy this down here. I'm just going to say ball x plus equals dx. Isn't that pretty? Ball x plus equals dx, okay? And right here, ball y plus equals dy, okay? So it just makes things a little bit, you'll get used to it. It's basically, I'm going to take whatever the old value of ball x is, I'm going to add dx to it, and I'm going to stuff it right back into ball x, okay? So ball x plus equals dx. Now, just to prove to you that I didn't really screw anything up, I'm going to go ahead and hit run module, and so it should still be bouncing around. Okay, and it does. Okay, so there was another place where we had sort of the same thing. We had this ball x equals ball x plus dx, and that's right here. dy equals dy times -1. Okay, so just like we did the plus equals, we can also do times equals. Okay, so I'm going to say dy times equals -1, just like that. Okay, dy times equals -1, dx times equals -1. Okay, see how that works? So let's run that, make sure everything's running fine. Okay. All right, I think it's bouncing okay. So what I want to do here is I want to get rid of some of these lines that we commented out. And I want to put the X right above the Y, because we've sort of been working with X first and then Y. So you see how that cleans things up. And maybe I'll say bounce code, okay? Because that's really the bounce code right there, okay? Sometimes I like to have spaces in things to sort of clean things up. And I'm also going to get rid of this 39 through 41. That's cluttering things. All right, so let's make sure that everything still runs. From time to time, you just kind of hit rerun and then off it goes. Okay, so I have another little bit of notes that I want to mess with, okay? And that is right here. Remember way back when, maybe it was pong2 or 3 or something, we were drawing the rectangle and we decided that the net of the rectangle was not quite in the center, okay? Well, we just said that was 395, okay? Now, I want you to think about this. Imagine if suddenly we didn't want our screen to be 800 by 600, we wanted it to be 900 by 500 for whatever reason, okay? Well, then suddenly this little bit of code would be all screwed up because that 395 would no longer be in the center and the net would be off, and then we'd be having to like scratch our head and figure out exactly what we were trying to do, right? Well, so coders have a way to deal with that. And that is, we don't tend to like to use numbers like this, especially inside a loop. We would rather calculate a field and then use that instead. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate a field and use that instead. And I'm just going to put it up here outside of the while loop. So I want this to happen before the while loop. And I'm going to say center of screen, center of screen, and I'm going to say the center of the screen is basically, it would be the screen width divided by 2, right? So let's say center of screen equals screen width divided by 2. Okay, that slash means divided by. Okay. So my center of screen is that. Okay. So if I did that, that would give me the 400, right? But really, I want to make it the 400 minus, the 10, right? Okay. So let's do this. Okay, so that's the center of the screen. Let's also create another variable, and we'll call this left side of net. Okay, so we're going to say left side of the net is equal to the center of the screen, minus 5, okay? So minus that 5 basically says, okay, well, we know that net is 10, right? So half of that is 5, so we're going to say the left side of the net is there, right? So now this variable, left side of net, I can change that 395 to left side of net, okay? And then let's run that again. Run module, okay. And it put it back in the same place. We didn't really think that would be crazy. But let's create some more variables because, it's kind of interesting to use a lot of different variables to understand how this stuff works. So I'm going to say net width equals 10, right? So the left side of the net is not really the center of the screen minus 5, it's the center of the screen minus the net width divided by 2, okay? Net width divided by 2. So my net width is 10, divide that by 2 becomes 5, center of screen minus this. By the way, order of operations from, like algebra class is in full effect here, okay? So parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, PEMDAS, remember that? No, you're telling me math stuff, I don't like that, okay? But you know, you got to pay attention to it. Otherwise, you know, some of your calculations might not work. So my left side of the net is now this. Okay. So now let's take a, let's play around a little bit. So if I run this module, so my net's in the right place, but now say for instance, I didn't want my net to be 10 pixels. I wanted it to be, I don't know, 40 pixels, right? So if it was 40 pixels, then my center of the screen will be the same, but then my net's going to be bigger, but it's still going to be scooched over. So let's take a look at how that played out. What did I do that wasn't quite right? Left side of the net width. Oh, okay, so my left side of the net is whatever this calculated to, right? But my net width being 40, I'm going to put that here because the width of the net is basically that part of the variable. Okay, so now when I run, see now my net is a lot bigger. See how that is? Okay, so now my net is a lot bigger. So now I can just change this one place and I can set up exactly how I like my net to be. See, now it's at 30. Well, I don't really like that. I kind of want like a really small net, maybe a 4. Okay, but my calculations still always work and it always sticks it in the center. And that's because I did a little bit of math and I used those variables, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and stick that back to 10 because that's where it was. And I want you to notice up here, remember how I said we have a variable called screen width, screen height. Let's say I change my screen height to like 400, okay? Well, no, that's not a good example. Let's change our screen height to like 700. So now we're 800 by 700 high. So I'm gonna hit run. And now look, my net doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Okay, it's missing 100 pixels, okay? Well, that's because instead of using the variable screen height, when I draw my net, I use 600. So let's put screen height here, and we'll run this. Okay, see, so now it's whatever it is. And if I go back and I change this screen height to say 50, okay, and I hit run, oh, look at that. Well, I guess the, the ball never got drawn. Oh, there it is. Did you see that ball move? Okay. So that's actually interesting. We got a little bit of a bug there, okay? Let's look where else we might have instead probably should have used screen height and screen width as variables. And I believe we should have used them right here and right here. So if ball X is greater than, this would be our screen height, right? And ball Y, oh, screen width, I'm sorry. Width would be here. And then screen height would be here. Maybe, let's change this to like 400 by 300. Okay, so now we got a smaller screen and it's all bouncy. Now, for those of you who, well, we'll just continue on with this little bit of cleanup because this is nice. Do you remember that that ball was basically 10 pixels across, right? So if you notice our little bounces, they're almost going off of the screen. Do you see that? See how they're going off the screen by about half? Well, we can fix that at 2. So with variables. So we're going to say, let's put maybe at line 15, we're going to say ball size equals 10. And then this ball size, we're going to change this to ball size, and we'll just change this value to ball size 2. Okay? So now this should just give us a red ball in the middle, and it's filled in. That's fine. Okay? And then, instead of saying if ball X is greater than the screen width, we can say minus the ball size divided by 2. Okay, because the ball size is 10, right? And then we divide that by 2. And then we could also put this there and here and also here. So let's run that. Okay, and you'll see that the ball is actually bouncing a lot better. See, it's not really going into the wall like it was before. And that's all because we basically just sort of divided that out. Now, yeah, so that works out okay. All right, so a lot going on there. We did a little bit of cleanup here. We also notice now all of our drawing is all one, it's all variabilized. So if I wanted to change the size of the ball, say to like 30 or 20, I can run, and now the ball should be a lot bigger. See how cool that is? By the way, notice how the ball is actually going behind the net. See that? We probably want it to go over the net. Well, let's see if we fix that real quick. On line 55 and line 60, we're drawing the circle, and then we're drawing the rectangle right over it. So I think if we drew the rectangle first and then the circle second, I think that would fix that. So let's move these. Command X, Command V. Okay. I basically just did a cut and then a paste. Okay, so I cut the circle and just stuck it afterwards. Okay, so let's hit run the module. Yeah, see now how it's going over top? Yeah, looks a little bit better. Okay, let me go ahead and change this back to 800 by 600, and I'll change the ball size back to 10. This is pong6, and let's run it just to double check, make sure we didn't mess anything up. That all looks really good. We'll do a save. All right, and that's the end of pong6. We've cleaned a lot of the code up, and that's fantastic. pong7. What we're going to do with pong7 is we are going to start drawing the right paddle. So the paddle that goes up and down, we're going to draw that, and we're going to see if we can get that moving. All right, see you at pong7, and everybody have a wonderful day.